Playing as the Barbarians in Rome Total War, the board game, and looking for an offensive edge against the Carthaginians? Well, stay tuned to find out more. Hi everyone, are you bored through? We're bored through, and here at Bored Through, we're all about the gameplay. And today, we're going to take a look at the latest installment in our strategy guide of Rome Total War, the board game. So last time what I was doing is I was telling you about a classic strategy, classic defensive strategy that I refer to as the wall, and that is where you advance barbarian and Carthaginian soldiers down to here. I say soldiers, armies down to here, and then up to here. And what that does is it then creates this natural wall here, whereby we're using the barriers presented by the map itself to be able to actually form a wall around which both of these armies will not try to attack each other, essentially, because they're actually more interested in going off to other parts of the battle map. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to look at a slightly different setup, one which is a lot less sleepy than this is. And this setup is one that would work most especially if the barbarians are going first, but it also has the opportunity of working if perhaps the Carthaginians have not done a lot to advance in their first turn. So if you imagine the Carthaginians advancing out from down here, that maybe what they would do is they would go into this region or to this region, and then what they might do is then to move up into here, so that overall what they've actually done is that they have created some battle lines that kind of look a bit like this. So if you imagine that the Carthaginians have come in, they've advanced up into here, but they've not come and taken the whole line along there to establish the wall, essentially. And what that does is it then leaves a gap open for the barbarian player. They can do this right off the bat if they actually start, but what they can do is that they can actually take advantage of this, whereby they can advance an army down into here. They will then want to capture this region like so, and from there then what they can do is they can actually then move their army down. Oops, let's undo that. They can actually move their army down into here and actually get themselves established within the Iberian Peninsula. So that means that this army here has moved down into here, and as you can see, this is a much more aggressive move compared to just trying to establish the wall and putting the Carthaginians under an awful lot of pressure, because now they're going to have to fight over the Iberian Peninsula with the barbarians. So definitely, if you're thinking of doing this as the barbarians, you'll then want to make sure that you build this army up to be as strong as possible, because you're making a really offensive move. It also means that you've not really got the opportunity for many diplomatic niceties. There's going to be a military confrontation taking place within this area here. But this strategy by itself is not necessarily going to work work in isolation. Although what it does mean is that the barbarians are actually set up in such a way that they can advance into here, they could advance into here, they could even advance into these regions here to try and take on the Carthaginians. So it actually does offer an awful lot of opportunities for expansion, but also leaves them in a position where they're much more exposed as well. So what you might want to do is to move into here and then use this to perhaps battle with the Carthaginian army in one of these regions perhaps. And then what you want to do is in that first turn, make sure that as the barbarians that you invest in your ability to form fleets in that first turn, so that when you come into the second turn, what you're able to do is surprise everyone by launching a fleet out of this port here. Then what you want to do is to either take this army that is sitting down here, or another army. So you can do it with either of these if you want to raise a second army. But let's say we actually go with our first army. What you want to do is you want to raise that army, get onto the fleet, move the fleet down into here, and from there you want to take this region here. That is absolutely vitally, crucially important to know that what you're going to do next in terms of your next move is you want to move down into this region here. And the reason why you want to do that is because of the mercenary capabilities that it offers. If you take a look at this region, you will see that it is a really fierce region in terms of the cost for going into it. It's 3 yellow die, so that means that there's a possibility of being able of losing 3 main battle cards all in one go. But after you've moved an army down into here and taken this region, there is also the possibility that you take it with absolutely no resistance whatsoever and get one of the free cards. And what you're really, really looking for out of here is you're looking to the to recruit the Hispanic spearmen in this region here. The reason for that is because they are fantastic in fighting within the hills, and if you want to be able to take the Carthaginians on within the Iberian Peninsula, then you're going to need to have that capability. But what you can do from here is that it then gives you the opportunity to expand further if you wanted to go south, if you wanted to go into here if the Carthaginians haven't done that, if you just wanted to go back north, because what you could do is just come this far and then slink your way back up again towards the north. But it does also give that opportunity that if you wanted to be more aggressive or to just show the Carthaginians that you are prepared to kick in the back door, and that you're a force to be taken seriously. This is a fantastic way of being able to disrupt what those much more traditional battle lines. And what it means then is it puts the Carthaginians in a really defensive position here, only taking up half of the Iberian Peninsula, and not even the better half because they don't have access to these really good troops that you get here. Now they do get them as part of some of their core set, but what it means is that the barbarians are able to go toe to toe with them in these regions here. And so that's just a great way of being able to put the Carthaginians on the back foot, as I was saying. The only risk that you really get with this is that if you've got a very weak barbarian army, you haven't supplemented it particularly well, the Carthaginians react. They buy in lots of other troops to maybe bring a second army up into this region here, and you have to have a battle, then they might be able to take your army apart very, very quickly. So you've got to watch out for that. Just remember as well that you need to make sure that if you're going to take this region down here, that you need to invest in your barracks and your walls. That's going to be crucially important in terms of being able to hold that region down there. You want to make sure that you're going to have a good foothold there. If at any point it looks like that you're going to have a lot of trouble and you need to get your army out of there, or that army gets destroyed, that gives you the opportunity to raise another army down there again. And being able to recruit those troops. And the other thing as well is that even if the Carthaginians do decide that they want to try and take it back, it's going to come at massive cost to them to try and do so. And as they get weakened by that, that gives you an opportunity for another counterattack. So this is one of the very best strategies that the barbarians have to be able to flex a little bit of muscle and show some offensive capability, because it's something that they don't possess an awful lot of, and it's something you've got to take advantage of right at the beginning of the game. Because as time goes on, especially if you don't manage to pick up this region down here, then your ability to be able to fight with the Carthaginians in a one-to-one battle becomes much more diminished. One of the risks, as I was saying here, is that if you're advancing down this kind of sea line, the Carthaginians might then want to advance towards the north, so they come up into here, and they actually are in a position to threaten you here, or they move over here and giving them the opportunity to cut you off in terms of your expansion. So that's something just to keep in mind, that then it means that they could be recreating some battle lines which are not particularly favourable to you. The only thing about that, though, is that if they were feeling so bloody minded that way and they wanted to do that, just remember that the Romans want to expand out into these regions here, and therefore what happens is that if they're going to be planting their army up into here to try and try and annoy you as the barbarians, then all they're doing is they're just creating a buffer between themselves and the Romans, which means that between you and the Romans, you're both able to have a go at them. So if you've got a Roman army there and the two of them have a fight, that gives you an opportunity that either you can form an alliance here with Carthage, whereby Carthage are going to be acting as a buffer state, and and they'll take all the flak from the Romans, or you could form an alliance with the Romans, and the two of you gang up against the Carthaginians here, so that if one of you weakens that army, the other one can destroy that army, and then you just start taking some of these regions back again. So there's actually very little downside to this, but it means that you've got to be really, really bold. And in particular, as I say, you want to make sure that you make that fleet development as well. It's something that you can only really do once, because you have to really surprise them. The other risk that you've got here is that the Carthaginians decide they can see what you're planning on doing, and what they do is they move one of their fleets out from here and come into here, and they want to go toe to toe with you, because you just got to keep that in mind, because the barbarians start with a really, really weak fleet to begin with, and the Carthaginians have the greatest capacity in terms of being able to expand their naval, expand their in terms of their naval advancement to get the flagships. So it's something you've got to do within the first 2 or 3 turns. You've got to do it as a surprise. If the Carthaginians know what you're doing, and they see what you want to do, just remember it's very costly for them to come and leave a fleet sitting over here, because what that means is that that's a fleet that they're not able to commit to keeping the Romans in check down here. It's very expensive for them to have to go and station a fleet over there, and I think that they wouldn't want to have to do that if they had the choice not to do it. So it's a fantastic tool that you can use, that even if you didn't actually execute it and actually make this move, just the threat of making that move could be enough to bring the Carthaginians round to your side. And so this is a great tactic, a great strategy that can be deployed to ruffle the feathers of the Carthaginians and bring them to the diplomacy table. And actually, in fact, if you ruffle them enough, maybe not bring them to the diplomacy table, because you want to wipe the floor of them in the Iberian Peninsula, one of the parts of the board in which they have the greatest strength. So that has been a strategy that I refer to as running the gauntlet, whereby the barbarians advance down to the south, and instead of forming the wall around about the modern um, boundaries between France and Spain. They instead move into the Iberian Peninsula, establish a head there, and then make their way down. And it's so crucially important, absolutely, to pull this off, that you make sure that you capture this region here with the mercenaries. As you can see, looking at this, if you're a Carthaginian player, the way to stop the barbarians from doing this is make sure you go and capture that region, because even if they manage to capture some regions up towards the north, if you as the Carthaginian player can capture that region there, well then you make this, you totally cut this off, and you neutralize this strategy altogether. Because even if the barbarians end up with some small holdings up in here, for example, then it's not really going to be very worthwhile for them if that's the only part of the peninsula that they've actually managed to take hold of. Then none of this down here is really going to matter. You might not be able to dislodge them, but they also don't really pose much of a threat. If you can get in here and build the barracks and the walls as well, it means that you can take that army away and focus it in other places. So if that's been really helpful to you, then please give this video a like. If you want to get these updates sent to your feed, make sure that you subscribe. And finally, if you're feeling generous, if you know a barbarian, a person who likes to play the barbarians and they need a little bit of help, then perhaps you could share this video with them. But of course, perhaps if you get stuck in a game drawing the short straw and you're the barbarians, you can go ahead and keep this video to yourself, and you can impress all your friends with just what you're able to do, showing off the real power of the barbarians that other people may have not noticed. But I'm going to say bye for now, and just to remind you that here at Board Through, we are all about the gameplay.